Picture this. The Montana sky is bleeding orange as I ease my truck down the long gravel drive to Ravenwood Ranch, horse trailer rattling behind after 4 brutal months buried in D.C. bureaucracy. 3 sheriff cruisers sit sideways across my own gate like it's a crime scene, and there she stands, Linda Voss, arms crossed, that smug little smirk screaming, "I won." She's literally bouncing on her designer boots in excitement. The deputy walks up looking like he swallowed a bad burrito. "Mr. Ravenwood? We have a trespassing complaint. This lady says you don't belong here." I glance at Linda, then at the massive iron archway that reads Ravenwood Ranch, EST 1889, then back to the woman who moved into Summit Ridge Estates 6 months ago. Sage and Diesel fill the cab. Somewhere my cattle are lowing. "Officer," I say, voice low and steady, "meet the HOA busybody who just tried to get the regional director for HOA compliance arrested on his own land." Linda's face goes from victory parade to "oh shit" faster than a prairie fire in August wind. What would you do if some clipboard-wielding control freak tried to have you hauled off your family ranch? Drop your wildest HOA horror story below and tell me where you're watching from. Let me take you back to how this masterpiece of self-destruction unfolded. My name is Cole Ravenwood. For months earlier, I'd buried my father on the hill overlooking these 2,800 acres of rolling Montana grassland his family had worked since before statehood. While I was running cattle and mending fences, I'd climbed the ladder at the Department of Housing and Urban Development. The promotion to Regional Oversight Director for HOA compliance across the Northwest came right as Dad passed. My job? Making sure homeowners associations in 5 states actually followed the law instead of playing dictator. The irony was about to hit, like a Montana blizzard. While I was in D.C. learning every trick HOA boards used to overreach, my ranch manager, old Hank Whitaker, was fielding visits from our shiny new neighbors at Summit Ridge Estates, marketed as authentic Western luxury living. Translation: Californians paying top dollar to live next to real cowboys, then losing their minds over anything that actually made it Western. Enter Linda Voss, 51, fresh off some HOA power struggle in Orange County. She crowned herself Community Standards Director before her moving boxes were unpacked. Hank described her best, like a Yorkie on espresso with the soul of a parking enforcer. Her reign of terror started immediately. She'd cruise the property line twice a day with clipboard, laser measure, and the intensity of someone auditing the IRS. Hank caught her one morning photographing our herd through the fence, taking meticulous notes on manure distribution. Like she was writing a PhD thesis on bovine bathroom etiquette. The certified letters started flying thicker than horseflies. Excessive agricultural odors. Because apparently in Linda's world cow shit is supposed to smell like lavender. Visual pollution from farm equipment. Tractors aren't Instagram-worthy enough. Noise disturbances from livestock. Newsflash, lady cows moo. All filed under concerned citizens, which meant Linda and whichever neighbors she'd bullied into co-signing. Hank kept me in the loop with late-night calls. "Boss, this woman's got a spreadsheet tracking our feeding times like we're running a meth lab." The beautiful part? Her McMansion sat barely 60 feet from our historic access road that had existed since Teddy Roosevelt was president. I finally came home to a stack of 19 complaints and my first live encounter at the local co-op. "Mr. Ravenwood, I'm Linda Voss, dedicated advocate for Summit Ridge's aesthetic integrity." Her smile was all veneers and venom. "We really must discuss bringing your activities in line with modern community expectations." I tipped my hat. "Ma'am, this ranch was here when your subdivision was just a fevered dream on a developer's napkin. Those activities fed 4 generations." "Oh, history is charming," she trilled, patting my arm like I was slow. "But property values and quality of life, you understand. I have connections in county planning. I'm sure we can reach an agreement that benefits everyone." Her agreement clearly meant me surrendering. That night on the porch, watching lightning dance over the mountains, I smiled into my whiskey. Linda Voss had no idea she'd declared war on the one man who could audit her entire HOA into oblivion. She didn't waste time. Within weeks she'd assembled her war council, a retired accountant obsessed with fines, and a former HOA president from Scottsdale. They held strategy sessions with PowerPoints titled Mitigating Agricultural Nuisance in Premium Residential Zones. The real comedy started when Linda Googled me and discovered my HUD title. But she completely botched it. In her head, I was some farm-friendly bureaucrat. "He's biased toward agriculture," she declared loudly enough for Hank's hidden camera to catch. We'll escalate straight to Washington. If only she knew those Washington connections were about to examine her subdivision's building permits with a microscope. While she plotted, I had my attorney Elena Vargas digging. What we found was gold. Montana's right-to-farm laws are ironclad, and our operation had protected agricultural status since 1889. Every complaint she filed was actually creating a paper trail proving our historic use. Even better, her background check showed a trail of destruction. For previous neighborhoods, same pattern of complaints, lawsuits, and burned bridges. Linda's obsession escalated. She bought a decibel meter and camped out at dawn timing our operations. She hired surveyors to challenge fence lines. She launched a Facebook group, Save Summit Ridge from Rural Relics. Then came her masterpiece, demanding we spend over $400,000 to screen our equipment yard, move feeding areas, and install odor control systems, because her wine club brunches were being disturbed. The local community wasn't having it. Old Man Tucker at the feed store banned her after she tried inspecting deliveries. The diner owner Rita slid coffee across the counter and said, "Complained my chili was too rustic aromatic. In Montana, that'll get you run out on a rail, sweetheart." The county hearing approached. Linda was prepping charts and graphs like it was the Super Bowl. What she didn't know was that I'd quietly tipped off the county planner, an old family friend, about potential issues with Summit Ridge's original development approvals. Turns out the developer had skimped on the required 300-foot agricultural buffer zone. Linda's house was illegally close. Even juicier, the HOA had received federal development incentives, putting them squarely under my oversight jurisdiction. At the big community meeting in their fancy clubhouse, Linda was in full glory, presenting her slideshow with sad violin music over photos of cows being cows. I walked in unannounced. The room went dead silent as I stood up. "Mrs. Voss, you've spent 6 months trying to make a 135-year-old working ranch conform to a subdivision built last year. That's like moving next to a rodeo and complaining about horses." Then I dropped the bomb. "As regional director for HOA compliance, I've reviewed your association's records. Interesting findings on those missing buffer zones and unpermitted structures." Her face was priceless. The reversal was poetic. Her flood of complaints had forced the county to fast-track a full audit of Summit Ridge. Every photo she took of violations now served as evidence against her own HOA's failures. The special assessment to fix the $450,000 in compliance work? About $15,000 per homeowner. Her allies scattered like startled quail. The Facebook group turned into a complaint forum about her. The final act came when she violated a temporary restraining order by following me to the county offices, screaming about conspiracies on camera. Sheriff's deputies cuffed her right there for stalking a federal employee. Last I heard, her house is in foreclosure, the HOA board ousted her and issued a public apology, and my ranch just got state heritage status. Federal reforms are in motion thanks to cases like this: stronger buffer requirements, mandatory disclosure of AG easements, and hefty fines for frivolous harassment. Linda thought she was protecting civilization by sanitizing the West into a petting zoo with no smells and no soul. Turns out she was the one who needed regulating. So tell me, folks, true or false, the biggest power abuser isn't the government or the rancher, but the neighbor who weaponizes community standards to control everyone else? Drop your answer and your own HOA stories below. If this tale of sweet, calculated karma hit different, smash that like button and subscribe for more.